From the time we first started having kids, I've always had the fear of a child dying while they're in my care. That was not real conducive to my ministry of foster care. I had a good friend in high school and college that lost a baby in SIDS, and watching him go through that, I was wondering how I would handle such a thing. It would be devastating, I know, but if I would be able to handle it. We have a story of a little boy, Joey, that my wife got a call for back in December of 1999, and he was a little boy that was gravely ill, only expected to live a couple of months, and she asked me, can we take him? They want him to leave the hospital, so he spends his last couple of months in a home. And my initial response was, there's no way. You know, I made a list of pros and cons, and there were very few pros and a whole bunch of cons that just something I wouldn't be able to do. And so I prayed about it and basically told the Lord that I wasn't going to be able to do this, even if he wanted me to. It was just something I couldn't do, and I hope he wouldn't be too mad at me. And his response back to me was, yes, you're going to do this. And so I couldn't say no. And we brought Joy in our home to become part of our family. He was, at the time, we were in a 1,060 square foot home, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And he had a nurse because he had to be monitored 24 hours a day. So we had a night nurse come into our home, and our front room in our little tiny house became his hospital room. He had oxygen and feeding pumps, and all of his equipment were in our front room. And but we managed, and at 6 months of age, the doctors were surprised that he'd lived that long, but he was actually starting to show some awareness of his surroundings, which they didn't think he would ever be able to do. He was cortically blind and bedridden, and had cerebral palsy and several other issues. And by his first birthday, it was obvious that he was going to live longer than 2 or 3 months. And he at that time was starting to be able to be calmed with our voices. He recognized us and the nurse. Loved to have his nurse sing praise songs to him. Well, sure enough, by his second birthday, he was becoming more and more aware of his surroundings, and would enjoy walks around the block, and really liked music. He had his favorite CDs. He was giving us an occasional half smile, and to most people, 2-year-olds smiling is not a big deal. To us, it was a real blessing and a gift from the Lord that kind of made us aware that we were doing what the Lord wanted us to do, and it was part of his plan. And by his third birthday, he was really becoming aware of his surroundings. He would laugh out loud. He would turned to the sun when it was shining through the window, and was really seeming to enjoy life the best he could. And we were enjoying having him. My wife he had a huge impact on our family and even the community. Our kids had to sacrifice a lot of our time because we had to spend so much time with him, but they were willing to do that, and I think it made a big impact on them. Jane would take Joy to high school health room classes, and our hope was that they would see the devastation that drugs can do, especially while you're pregnant. Joey passed away on Christmas Eve in 2002, just after his 3rd birthday. Very rough time for us. He took his last breath in my arms, and that was something the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was to watch him pass away. He was such a huge part of my life, and people would ask, would you do it again? And my response is absolutely. Even though I'm afraid of doing it again, I would do it again, because it was so obvious that he was part of the Lord's plan for our family, and that there was a reason for him to be on earth. Is the fear still there? Absolutely, it is, but it doesn't keep me from doing what I know the Lord wants me to do. I know He will support me and get me through any of these rough times.